Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
It's Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. Spathon here with another episode of The Swamp. U.S. attorneys argued in favor of banning men from women's sports before the U.S. Supreme Court, who heard oral arguments earlier today. Demonstrators from both sides were outside the Supreme Court in support and in protest. Senator Mark Kelly announced his lawsuit against Pete Hegseth over his military retirement pay reduction, and today Pete Hegseth answered with a short but fiery response. An estimated 2,500 agents from Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement have surged into Minnesota. Immigrants are being apprehended for deportation, and protesters are on scene with their phones and whistles at the ready. Democrats are strongly considering another government shutdown, this time because they want to defund federal law enforcement. Iran protests continue while the United States government reemphasizes strong support for the Iranian people as images of horrific mass casualties are making their way onto the internet despite a nationwide internet blackout. President Trump paid Michigan a visit today, touring the factory floor of a Ford plant where he gave a speech on the state of the economy and spoke to the media afterwards. And there's a lot more happened today, so we're just going to dive straight in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like and consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed the daily updates. And I might read your comment on the next episode if you decide to drop one below. And every article you'll see in this video will be linked down in the description below. And I'm going to start here with Chairwoman Lisa McClain. Men trying to compete against women is bullying, and it's disgusting. I look forward to joining strong women at SCOTUS today as we stand up for women, stand up for the law, and stand up to end this woke nonsense. And it looks like this article is going to be coming from Fox News. And it reads as follows. A top House lawmaker and former softball coach is arguing that allowing transgender women who were born male to play on female sports teams is the biggest form of bullying. House GOP conference chairwoman Lisa McClain, Republican from Michigan, is expected to appear at a rally in support of banning biological males from playing on school sports teams for girls and women on Tuesday. It's the same day the Supreme Court is expected to hear oral arguments on the legality of such bans in 2 states, cases that could have ramifications for school sports across the country. And it looks like there is a pro-trans protest, if my eyes don't deceive me. The cases challenging state laws by GOP-led governments in Idaho and West Virginia will decide whether discrimination based on gender identity violates civil rights laws. But McClain, who spent almost a decade coaching girls softball, said it was not an issue of left or right. This isn't a conservative or progressive issue. You can't put a label on it. The label is female versus male. Those are the labels you should be talking about, McClain said. Does this Supreme Court recognize females? As a business owner before Congress, McClain said she also coached her daughter and other girls starting when her child was 9 through high school. And that's Rep. Lisa McClain speaking from the podium right there. And she goes on to say, she said there would have been intense conversations if her team had to face another with a transgender player. I'll just share with you, it wouldn't happen, she said on the hypothetical face-off. You want to talk about fairness and all that stuff? I'll compete with any female athlete. Don't have a guy pretending to be a woman come in, undress in the locker room in front of my daughter or any of the girls that are on my team. Are you kidding me? LGBTQ advocates have said a Supreme Court ruling in favor of the state governments would be a step back for transgender rights. Oh my God, dude, they're firing off smoke, pink smoke, blue smoke. Of course they are. But people who support the bans like McClain have said it's a fight for women's rights. Quote, where all these feminists that fought so hard for women's rights for Title IX, she asked. This is an attack on women, so you can stand with the transgenders. That's fine. You can be who you want to be. Be transgender if that's who you want to be. But when you decides to infringe on my rights, that's when I have a problem. So there's that from, again, Fox News. And we're going to move on to Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Today, my attorneys are arguing a crucial Supreme Court case pushing back against the trans agenda. Our position, states have the authority to ban men from participating in women's sports. This is common sense. We are fighting to protect girls and women in the locker room and on the playing field, and we will be successful. So let's give this a watch. Oh, actually, hold on. I think having sound might help a little.
The Department of Justice
there we go.
will not sit by when women are discriminated against in sports.
I will echo Attorney General's comments about how brave these women are, these young women.
I thank you on behalf of course, myself, but I think more importantly, my younger sister, of all the women and girls who have dreams, like I did when I was young.
I am extremely grateful to AG Bondi for standing up for us when our elected officials aren't doing that.
Thank you to the Trump administration and AG Bondi for taking action on behalf of our girls and helping to ensure a safe, fair, and level playing field.
All right. Thank you, AG Pam Bondi. And
The Department of Justice.
Not 100% for sure when we're going to hear the result of those oral arguments. I believe the Supreme Court usually takes quite a bit of time. I mean, it could be months potentially before we find out what the ruling is going to end up being. But in the meantime, we got this from Steve Daines. Great to be with Riley Gaines on the steps of SCOTUS as they hear oral arguments to keep men out of women's sports. There's Riley Gaines right there. And Addison McDowell, proud member of the Girl Dads for Whatley, North Carolina. North Carolina deserves a senator who stands up for our daughters, not one who refuses to keep men out of women's sports. Anyway, this is from Senate Republicans. Radical Roy Cooper literally ran away when asked why he supports men competing in women's sports. He is a coward who refuses to protect North Carolina's women and girls. I had to pause for a second because I thought that I just played this recently, but I think it was actually probably more than a couple of days ago. But anyway, we'll give this a watch.
Governor Cooper?
Yeah.
Why do you support men being able to play women's sports?
Can you let me in, please? I'm Roy.
Governor Cooper? Why do you support men being able to play women's sports?
Why, oh, why? Why won't you answer the question?
Governor
it's a
Cooper,
simple one.
could you please answer the question? Governor Cooper, are there
Why are you
more
so
than
scared?
two genders?
Be like, why are you scared, bro? Why you so
Governor
scared, bro? Why? What? Why? Is he even running for re-election? I'm sure he probably is. I mean, I somehow doubt that he's probably going to win re-election, especially since North Carolina, they just crossed over that big line between registered Republicans and registered Democrats. There's now officially more registered Republicans in North Carolina than Democrats. Supposedly the first time ever in the state of North Carolina's history. All right, so we're going to move on to Laura Loomer. This morning, Trump hater Thomas Massie inferred that President Trump and the House GOP are protecting pedos, bankrupting the country, and trying to start more wars when Loomer unleashed. Charles R. Downs asked him, quote, in the last 2 weeks, you have repeated AOC's talking points on Venezuela and have been retweeted by Jasmine Crockett. When will you change your party affiliation to Democrat? Oh, that's a little spicy. It's sad that Massie chose to smear President Trump and the House GOP instead of answering our reasonable questions regarding his support from some of the House Democrats' most radical members. This is further evidence that Thomas Massie is, in fact, more of a Democrat than a Republican.
How's it going? Happy birthday. Thank you.
Wait, so Congressman, in the last 2 weeks, you repeated AOC's talking points on Venezuela, and Jasmine Crockett has retweeted you. When will you change your party affiliation to Democrat?
I thought you knew. I vote with Republicans 91% of the time.
seems...
And the 9% I don't, they're taking up for pedophiles, starting another war, or bankrupting our country.
I don't know about that, Congress.
Oh yeah, Democrats aren't bankrupting the country though, right?
Not really.
No, dude, I would say both sides. Both Republicans and Democrats are bankrupting the country. So anyway, Laura Loomer, controversial investigative journalist, or I believe that's what she calls herself. And we got this from Thomas Massie himself. Imagine posting this attempted ambush and thinking it was a hit on me. So I'm not going to play the whole thing because we just saw it. So anyway, 33 seconds, exact same clip. So let's not do that all over again. But anyway, I came across that today. 16,000 likes from him, about 12,000 from Laura Loomer. It was posted from Thomas Massie just an hour ago. So anyway, that happened today. And this is Pete Hegseth's response to Senator Mark Kelly. He says, quote, Captain, quote unquote, Captain Kelly knows exactly what he did and that he will be held to account. That's why he's so worried and cranky. Told you it was short, relatively spicy. I guess it wasn't super spicy, but yeah, anyway, Pete Hegseth, he's standing firm on his strong belief that he will be successfully censured and his military pay will be reduced because of the video that he created with fellow Democrats instructing active military members to essentially defied Trump's orders, really. Okay, anyway, moving on to Senate Finance Committee from 9 hours ago. This fraud is in service of a program that does not work in the first place. Let me read this one first from NRCC because the initial one's responding to this. Reminder, 100% of fake applicants approved for Obamacare. Dead people and bogus Social Security numbers cashing in. Up to $27 billion a year has been wasted while families pay higher premiums. Democrats are shielding the fraud. You know, you would think that Democrats would be more in favor of getting to the bottom of where this money is so they can free up some of it because, for example, California, I just read this earlier today. Matter of fact, I just reposted it recently, that California, they have an economic deficit for fiscal year 26 and 2027 of $18 billion, and it's believed that by 27-28 fiscal year, it's going to balloon up to $35 billion. That's an economic shortfall that just the state of California is experiencing, which is, it's kind of hilarious because you get Governor Gavin Newsom talking about how California is the 5th largest economy on the planet, but at the same time, they're relatively heavily in debt. I mean, I guess by today's standards, $18 billion, I don't know if I would consider that heavily in debt, but it's still in debt. They're certainly not in the black. That's for damn sure. So anyway, here, let's go ahead and give this a play. It's going to be
There's
on CNBC.
a lot of issues within healthcare. As you stated, the GAO report was a request that myself, Chairman Jordan, and Chairman Kathy Morse-Rogers did last year. And the findings that came out this week are pretty disturbing. Just one Social Security number had more than 125 different policies tied to it. You have 59,000
how the fuck are they approving this shit,
verified
man?
That were dead.
No oversight.
And they were continuing to get subsidies to the insurance companies. And then if you look at
the
just
insurance
the
companies
24
getting
million
rich.
people that's on the exchanges that everyone's talking about, roughly 12 million last year did not even file one medical claim because they didn't know they had health insurance. It's not that they didn't have medical claims, simply fact the insurance companies were being subsidized, but these people were automatically enrolled and didn't know. But when we look at healthcare, what we're discussing right now in Washington is how can we lower the cost of healthcare for all Americans? How can we lower the cost of premiums for all Americans? How can we create more access?
Well, and you know what? Democrats, they say that Republicans they're cozying up to their billionaire buddies. Well, the same argument can be made with regard to Democrats cozying up to the health insurance company buddies, the billionaire, probably trillionaire, really, if you combine them, health insurance companies, because they're certainly getting rich as hell off of Obamacare. They ain't getting poor, that's for damn sure, especially when all of this fraud is happening. So anyway, so this is the response that the Senate Finance Committee had made to that video. This fraud is in service of a program that does not work in the first place. A family of 4 pays $10,000 more for coverage today than before Obamacare, and their deductibles have doubled. Obamacare is broken, and throwing good taxpayer money after bad policy will not fix it. And what was it that the Democrats were calling the subsidies? I believe a clean extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies, because, you know, they don't want to say Obamacare. They have to say Affordable Care Act. And they don't want to change anything at all, despite the fact that everyone's Obamacare health insurance is going up year after year. It's not gone down a single year as the Democrats promised it would. Just keeps going up. So they just want to kick the can another 3 years. And how's that going to fix anything? Well, it's not. And I've talked about my personal situation with regard to health insurance. I'd say I've had multiple surgeries for other things. You know, I'm half deaf. My left ear doesn't work at all. Completely stone deaf. It was as a result of an injury. I had a pair of sunglasses that I had hanging off my ears like a freaking 16-year-old idiot with the lenses underneath my chin. Bent down to pick up something. The end of the sunglasses lens went way into my ear. Damaged all 3 of my hearing bones, severed my hearing nerve in my inner ear. It was a whole mess. I didn't spend any significant time in the hospital. Like, both surgeries I had were outpatient. So, but in 2010, I had kidney issues, and I spent about 10 days in the hospital as an inpatient. So the health insurance I had back then was just average, just some everyday, you know, I would argue a lower middle class job that I had at the time. I think my insurance was like $150 a month. Even though I was like, I think 26 years old at the time. So, you know, I was much younger. But having spent 10 days in the hospital with a surgery and 6 weeks of follow-up care and having a stent removed at the end of that 6-week period during my recovery, all of that in total cost me maybe $300, definitely not more than $400. That was it for everything. My insurance covered everything, because back then, many people, if not most people, their health insurance back then, if you had to go into the hospital as an inpatient, it was a $250 copay. That was it, $250. And emergency room, $100. And what was it? A media care was $50. Specialist, $35. Primary care doctor, $20. That was it. That's all that we had to pay for. And in many cases, if you did have surgery and extensive follow-up visits, often it was covered underneath that $250 copay because it was directly related to the procedure you had in the hospital. And obviously, we're not getting that anymore. I think my insurance currently, I have to pay like 40%. God forbid, if I had to go through the same experience again, I'd have to pay for 40% of the entire bill, up to $8,000. And that's all, I'm assuming, a direct result of Obamacare, because health insurance was a hell of a lot better back then than it is right now. And look, there's no one else to blame. I mean, Republicans, they didn't sign on for Obamacare at all. They didn't get a single vote from Republicans, nor did they get a single Republican vote for the subsidies either. But anyway, let's move on to the White House. Breaking: President Trump ends TPS, temporary protected status, for thousands of Somalis amid massive fraud scandals in Minnesota. Quote, "We are putting Americans first," end quote. And that's a quote from Secretary Kristi Noem with Homeland Security. And Trump administration ends temporary protected status for thousands of Somalis. Okay, that was an image. I'm just checking to see if they've got an article linked to this. I'm assuming they do, because the White House usually does do that. Oh, no, but not this time. Okay, that's all right. I got a lot more information on this, so let's move on to the next post. Chairman Joe Gruters: Democrats are threatening to shut down the government again because they want to defund law enforcement. It's disgusting. So they are all about defund the police, and then they walk that back. No, we're not all defund the police. We believe in strong police policies, because they're trying to kick out what they call Trump's Gestapo in deep blue cities. So, they pretend to be pro police. Now they're threatening to shut down the government because now they're taking another anti-police stance. So this is from RNC Research from 2:04 p.m. today. Democrat Rep. Jason Crow shamelessly smears ICE and threatens another government shutdown. CNN asks, would you support shutting down the federal government? Crow says, I'm willing to look at all options to stop ICE.
Some of your colleagues want to fold policy changes to ICE as part of the upcoming funding fight for the government. Would you support shutting down the federal government to change ICE policy?
What we need to do is make sure that we stop this runaway rogue agency. We look at appropriations to do that. We look at law to do that. There are a variety of ways we can do that, but
how exactly are they a runaway rogue agency? Of course, Democrats, they can't explain that. So, of course, he's not going to explain that. They're simply arresting people who are illegally inside this country. And Democrats, they failed to view the obvious, and that's the majority. The reason why Trump got the majority vote was because he ran on immigration. And also, Americans who've been surveyed, the number that I've seen over and over again is 76% of Americans are in favor of mass deportations for illegal immigrants. And obviously, clearly, Democrats are on the wrong side of it. So I don't know if they just believe if they just keep doubling down, they'll just eventually gaslight their way into receiving majority support from the public. I don't know, man.
It is getting worse, not better. This administration is reckless. They're lawless. They operate with impunity. Even when courts issue rulings, a third of the time they ignore it. So, yeah, I'm over it.
But yeah, Democrats never ignore anything.
To look at all options to stop this agency that is terrorizing in so many places, our communities, our neighborhoods, and the American people.
Obstruction and assaulting federal agents. People blocking the roads so agents can't get through anytime that they're conducting a lawful arrest, and even in some cases serving search warrants or arrest warrants. You got all these protesters. Somehow they get word ahead of time, it seems, that they just show up on all these locations that ICE goes to make arrests of illegal immigrants. And then, of course, they smear it and they try to make it so that they're just disappearing innocent Americans and undocumented American citizens and so on and so forth. So anyway, from the GOP from earlier today, Democrats are the party of criminals and chaos. They pushed defund the police. Now they oppose deporting criminal illegal aliens and attack federal agents for enforcing the law. Same party, same pro-crime agenda. And again, this is from RNC Research. Timo Obama, Hakeem Jeffries confirms House Democrats are working to defund ICE. And then there's an exchange, so we'll just, hear this out in the video.
I want to switch over to a different topic here. This is obviously something that's consumed the entire country for the last week or so, and that is the issue of the lawlessness of ICE. And so,
please give us some examples.
Your vantage, is there anything that Congress or that congressional Democrats might be able to do to limit funding for ICE, so to kind of cut them off, where it matters most, which is the funding source?
Yeah, in the context of the upcoming Homeland Security bill, House appropriators on the Democratic side are pushing aggressive accountability measures to try to rein ICE in because they are completely and totally out of control.
He moves his hands around when he's lying. That's how you know Hakeem Jeffries is lying, just like Gavin Newsom. Well, see, but there's a problem, Timu Obama, is that you don't have the majority in the House. And God forbid they don't get the majority in the midterms. It wouldn't surprise me if they ended up getting the majority because House Republicans don't seem to be doing nearly enough. But I guess that's an argument for another time. But they don't have the receipts as far as ICE enforcement, but I do. I've got quite a few videos that we're going to get into. So we've got this from Trisha McLaughlin. Important question. Why are DHS law enforcement surging to Minneapolis and other sanctuary cities? It's because Minnesota law enforcement won't let us in their jails. Waltz has released more than 470 criminal illegal aliens from Minnesota's jails back onto the streets. That includes murderers, kidnappers, and child pedos. That means DHS has to find them and apprehend them in the streets without the help of local law enforcement. Locals can't answer calls for backup when our law enforcement are attacked, assaulted, and obstructed. This is dangerous for our officers and the community. There are currently 1,360 violent criminal illegal aliens in Minnesota's custody. These criminals could very well be put back on the streets, and they probably will. If Waltz and Frey would stop these dumb, dangerous policies, the public and our law enforcement would be a lot safer. And we've got this.
There's something wrong about what happened there. They picked the wrong guys and they dumped them on the street.
Chris, why are we not working with the locals? Because they won't work with us. We would love for Mayor Frey and Governor Walz to agree to work with us. Absolutely. You'll have to talk to the Justice Department about that. But I will say the fact of the matter is on the ground, Governor Walz has released 470 criminal illegal aliens out of his jails and onto Minneapolis' streets. That includes murderers, Chris. That includes rapists, strong-arm rapists. That includes child pedophiles.
That's bad on him if he did that.
Those people were in Minneapolis' custody, and yet they were released back onto the streets.
Now, see, the Democrats push back and they say, no, these people aren't convicted R-worders. They're not convicted pedos because, you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. So if they're arrested for strong arm robbery or for murder, that's their argument. Well, they're not a murderer. They haven't been convicted of that.
That's why we're there. That's why we have to be there, because these leaders turn a blind eye and allow criminal illegal aliens to walk around with impunity and create more American victims. So we will not apologize for being on the ground and enforcing the rule of law.
I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm asking you for an assessment of how it's done to keep the men and women who are doing the job safe and create less problems in communities that aren't necessary. But I appreciate you answering the questions, and you're always welcome here to make the case. Trisha McLaughlin, thank you very much.
Let's see, the thing is that there's not really any, at least from what I've seen, and I'm sure conservative media outlets would absolutely cover this, but there's not really any pushback from all the protests that are happening in Minnesota who are protesting against ICE. So you're not seeing large groups of residents in Minneapolis that are cheering in favor of ICE and thanking them for getting these criminal illegals off the street. You're not getting a whole lot of pushback. You're just getting tons of one-sided protests. So it's almost like they're simply just, obviously they voted for it. Obviously they're supporting the fact that criminal illegals are being let loose on their streets. So, I'm not saying that the federal government should just throw their hands up, because we are the United States. That includes all 50 states. So, they have to keep up with the federal enforcement, but I don't know, man. Anyway, so Dan Crenshaw, looks like you might be missing some context here, specifically the part where the guy takes a swing at a federal agent, also the part where the federal agent was trying to move past him. Be sure, let's pretend Border Patrol was there to arrest this U.S. citizen so we can make everything as stupid as possible. Well, he was responding to Jesus freaking Congress and says Border Patrol just illegally arrested a U.S. citizen, a teenager in Richfield, Minnesota. The team was working at Target when agents tackled him and arrested him while his passport was in his pocket, fully identifying himself as a U.S. citizen. None of it mattered. Why? Because he looked Latino. When a coworker asked to call, he said, heartbreakingly, my mom. Think about that. Your teenage son goes to work and Border Patrol kidnaps him. Anyway, you get the idea. If you want to read the rest of it, just pause the video. I'll leave it up for 3, 2, 1. And so they've got a video. You know what? I'll play her video. How about that? Let's just listen to the video. Well, it's not her video. It's a video of the apprehension.
How you doing? Me. No. What? Going to ask for is that John? Get on the phone. Hey, no. Shit. Where's the shit? Christian, do you have somebody you want us to call? My mom. What's her number? Hey, all border vacation. Go to hell, dude. That's some bullshit. They have Border Patrol. Christian?
All right, so let's see the video where he took a swing at this Border Patrol agent, because the angle isn't the best angle, but in my opinion, it does seem pretty clear that he did take a swing on him. So here's the video, and I'll play it a couple of times. I'll let it repeat.
Look.
So yeah, it seemed right there that he did. As he was backing up with his left hand, you see that? It was like right about there, bam. So did he really? I mean, it would certainly help if Border Patrol had body cameras, but it does seem, I mean, he's obviously trying to obstruct them, that's for sure. Especially if Border Patrol is going in to Target to at least attempt to apprehend someone. That's absolutely obstruction, in my opinion. But yeah, it would seem that he took a swing on him. At least that's what the Border Patrol agent said, and that's why he got arrested. Right there. So, I don't know, I'll let you be the judge, but apparently that's what happened. And we'll move on to the next thing from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, simply saying Patriot, replying to ALX or Alex. ICE, I love my job. I can't believe I get paid for this. I do this for free. And then they have a back and forth with protesters. So let's take a look at this video.
I don't care what they told you. If you guys get in my way, I will arrest you.
Sir, we're just observing. Please calm down.
You can observe all you want.
I am observing. Do you see me in the way? I am Beth.
You had anger issues as a kid, didn't you? Were your parents present?
Oh, the party of love and acceptance and tolerance.
He is.
I love my job, thank you.
You love your job?
I can't believe I get paid for this.
Really?
I do this for free.
Really, I get $200.
I do this for free.
Physician assistant.
How long did you go to school for that?
Over 7 years.
I went to high school. I make $200K.
People regard me as someone valuable in society. What about you? Is yours says prestige? No, it doesn't. Come out and report if you can.
Yeah, oh yeah, there goes the R-word whistles that the progressives are blowing constantly. Yeah, apparently that lady said she's like a physician assistant, gets paid $200,000. I mean, if that's the case, I don't know why she's out there protesting on a freaking weekday. But anyway, yeah, I only went, or yeah, there it is. I get $200K, I'm a physician assistant. Yeah, supposedly that's what she said. But anyway, we got yet another one from Nick Sordor 8 hours ago. Breaking, despite the screeching leftists following them everywhere, ICE is still being seen successfully making arrests around Minneapolis today. Don't slow down, guys. Keep pushing.
Get back. Very good. Get back. Very good.
Those whistles crack me up, man. They're so cheap, they don't even have the little ball in the whistle. And look, my opinion, every single time that ICE or any federal agents lay a finger on anyone who is there demonstrating, protesting, they've got to arrest them. Because if they go hands-on with them, they can obviously, at least in my opinion, maybe not obviously 100% of the time, but it's clear to me that they could arrest them for obstruction, because if they're blocking ICE's path or any federal agents, then that's grounds for obstruction, which could carry an 8-year prison sentence. And they just keep pushing them. Don't push them, arrest them. All these goofballs taking pictures, trying to sell them to the media. That's what they're there, man. Bunch of profiteers. Vultures. I mean, again, it appears to be in the middle of, in the morning, like the mid-morning hours on a freaking weekday. All right, Officer Lou, breaking Minnesota, impede patroller gets busted obstructing ICE ops. Should have tased him on the spot. They pat him down, boom, firearm, felony obstruction, and a gun confiscated automatically. All the tough talk, straight to jail anyway. Take a look at this one. I believe this was also from either today or yesterday. It's posted 8 hours ago.
Now that's fucking assault. All I need is you're gonna get fucking tased. Don't fucking move or you're gonna get tased. Because you want to be an idiot. I'm not moving. Because you want to be a fucking idiot. You're a fucking pussy. You're a fucking bitch. And you're gonna learn the fucking hard way. Just asked you for an ID. That was I don't give a fuck what you asked me for, bitch. Shut up. You shut up, bitch.
Shut up.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? He has a gun on him. Look at that. A fully registered firearm. Because I'm a
yeah, right.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, and whose name?
Wow. Whoa. Let's go. Get him in the fucking car. That's a wax. Is that right? Is that fucking right? You just stop fucking smoking. What you have to do is say, this is who the fuck I am. I don't even let you the fuck alone. Y'all are some real fucking scumbags. You know that, right? I'm a scumbag? Yes. You just acted like a fucking scumbag. If you're a fucking U.S. citizen, you shouldn't have done that. What made you get into this fucking profession? Why are you so mad at why are you so mad at immigrants? What did they do to you? Unlawful arrest. We'll see. What did I do? What did I do that was illegal? Don't worry. We're gonna fuck. What did I do that was illegal? We're gonna talk about it. You can explain it to the judge. Okay. What? I didn't reach for anything. I reached for my whistle.
Oh shit, now they're gonna say he was reaching for his firearm? Uh-oh.
Y'all are grown men picking on fucking family, bro. Picking on family. You're picking on family, bro. I'm fucking arresting child molester. I'm fucking child molester? Yeah. Are you guys kidding me? But now you're arresting a U.S. citizen for what? For what? Who here is a child molester, bro?
It's probably a rental, dude. But maybe not. Maybe it's fitted with a cage and all that in there, but I don't think they usually are. Which, by the way, that's like a $100,000 SUV, freaking Jeeps these days. Absolutely crazy. So anyway, impeding patroller, and I mean, this guy, he's not a government official, so you know, I take all of those with a grain of salt when they narrate what happened, because you know, I mean, obviously a gun was confiscated, so you know, he's right about that. What exactly he was arrested for, I didn't catch that in the video. But anyway, so from Mike Norton, this woman looked horrified when she frantically tried to explain to the ICE agents ripping her out of the car that she's disabled and was on her way to the doctor. Then other agents in the background tried to shield the scene from photographers. ICE is terrorizing our city. So let's give this a play. I'll let you be the judge. Does this woman appear to be disabled? I mean, first off, she's driving. Not to say disabled women can't drive. Well, you did something stupid. Now you're getting yanked out of your car.
Why don't you help that woman? Help that woman! Why don't you help someone? All you do is hurt.
Which, of course, to be fair, I don't know what happened, but that led up to this. Don't know. Definitely not saying that federal agents can never arrest wrong people, because I'm sure they do from time to time. All right, so there's that. That was posted by, again, Mike Norton. And it looks like just probably another, the same video, it appears. Woman pulled from car during clashes between activists and federal agents. Chaotic scenes erupted in Minneapolis neighborhood after ICE detains what looks like a teenager from a house. Video by and so on and so forth. All right, so that also was posted today. And do I have another one? Yeah, I think I got another one. Homeland Security. Actually, let's do this one first. This was actually from yesterday. ICE brutally detained U.S. citizen community volunteer kneel on his neck in violation of Minnesota law. Agents shatter car window and violently drag him out, pointing pepper spray. Man is well-known observer seemingly targeted by ICE. After George Floyd murder, it's not legal to put a knee on a suspect's neck or head. That makes breathing difficult or impossible or restricts blood flow to the brain via the carotid arteries. The incident, I didn't mean to click on that. The incident occurred near Portland Avenue in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Well, even if, look, we're going to watch the video. Maybe he did put his knee on his neck, and if he did, he's a federal agent. I mean, federal agents, they're not, to uphold state law. They have to uphold federal law, but let's take a look at this. Yeah, right. He's not resisting. Are you fucking kidding? Yeah, the knee's on his back, dummies. It's not on his fucking neck. All right. Anyway, yeah, you can argue that maybe a part of his shin may have touched his neck. Obviously, in my opinion, he wasn't putting his weight on his neck. I mean, not that this person who's posting is a doctor or anything with regard to restricting blood flow to the brain and so on and so forth. Probably just quoting the law, but still. All right, and Homeland Security, this is their response to that video we just saw. On January 7th, 2026, ICE officers responded to a distress call from fellow officers who were under attack by agitators. One of these endangered officers, in fear of losing his life, defensively fired his weapon. On their way to relieve their fellow law enforcement, hundreds of violent rioters swarmed their vehicle, blocked their path, and assaulted them. These officers gave multiple lawful commands to the violent agitator in this video, but he chose to repeatedly refuse these commands. It is a felony to obstruct law enforcement, and it is another felony to resist arrest. This individual did both, and the officers were duty-bound to arrest him. Our law enforcement officers followed their training and used the minimum amount of force necessary to bring order to the scene and control a violent agitator. This video is clearly slowed at the 23-second mark. It is edited to artificially prolong the time the officer was on top of the agitator, which was a split second during a violent struggle. We stand by our officers who followed their training to the letter. Yep, so, you got to be wary of that. People, they're editing the video to try to show a narrative that they want to be seen. But plus, we also have to worry about freaking AI videos too. Not that in any way, I don't think that was AI, but still. All right, so burning the goyim with a magnifying glass. Okay, well, that's a mouthful. Bro, he was shooting an AR in the air. Oh, okay, so let's do this once again. Let me do this one first. Keith Porter Jr. by Ben Crump was a father of two, a son and a brother whose life was stolen by an off-duty ICE agent. His family gathered in grief, demanding the truth. We will continue to stand with Keith Porter Jr.'s family until there is justice, transparency, and answers. Well, according to dude who posted this, bro, he was shooting an AR in the air in a residential apartment complex. And when an off-duty ICE agent who lived there told him to stop firing an AR into the air. Porter instead aimed at the ICE agent and fired at him multiple times, LMAO. Then he got shot by ICE. So there you go. And anyway, I guess we'll just give this a play since it's right here. Vigil for man killed by off-duty ICE agent.
In Carson, where she raised him. This is the second memorial in a week for the father of two shot and killed in Northridge by an off-duty ICE agent on New Year's Eve.
Took our loved one from us. You murdered our loved one, and it's not fair. It's not right.
According to the Department of Homeland Security, the off-duty ICE agent heard gunfire near his apartment and went to check it out. That's when DHS says the officer encountered Porter holding a long rifle. Advocates say Porter's gun...
Isn't that interesting how the left-wing media, they don't say assault weapon when this individual is holding what they would define as an assault weapon. Instead, they say a long-armed rifle. They don't say a high-powered rifle. They don't say assault rifle. They don't say a assault weapon. No, they say a long rifle. Isn't that interesting?
That night was his way of observing the holiday.
Well, yes, it was illegal, but at the end of the day, it's American tradition.
Yeah, it's illegal for him to point his gun and start firing at agents. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's just a tradition, bro.
As long as I can remember, that's one of the things that happens. People shoot guns as part of fireworks and celebration of the new year.
But the agent allegedly ordered Porter to put down the weapon. And when he didn't,
it's hilarious
comply,
how they downplay
DHS
it.
Says the off-duty officer
what, he was just shooting
fired
guns.
His service gun. The agency claims Porter fired 3 rounds at the off-duty agent before he was killed.
This
there you
is a
go.
Human rights issue.
The 43-year-old's death touching complete strangers.
So they're pro-guns now?
From Mid-City drove 20
I somehow doubt this
miles to
lady's
Carson
pro-gun.
for his memorial,
but maybe she
instead
is.
of marching at an anti-ICE protest closer to home.
We all need to recognize the shared humanity and come together. And I just wanted to be here to be a part of this group saying his life is valuable, his life matters, and we need to speak out in as many ways as possible.
While LAPD investigates what led up to Porter's final moments, people here want the off-duty ICE officer identified, arrested, and charged.
Hurt, lost.
Yeah, that ain't
It
happening.
was my brother. He was my life. He was my kid's life. He was the life.
But who knows, man? Crazy times we live in.
Organizers say on Tuesday that they will attend LAPD's police commission meeting to petition the chief to make Keith Porter's death investigation transparent. Organizers also acknowledge the shooting death of Renee Good, who was shot.
Yeah,
and killed
but
by
I'm
an
sure this
ICE
investigation's
agent in
under
Minnesota.
federal jurisdiction.
In Carson, Tim Pulliam, ABC 7, Eyewitness News.
All right. So that happened. Actually, that story kind of got lost in the fog of all these freaking controversies and news stories and goings on that keep happening. I actually didn't hear anything about that until just now, really, or earlier today when I first came across that. All right, so this is from Nick Sordor. LMAO, more and more leftists are getting sprayed in the face for harassing ICE agents in Minneapolis. ICE agents have had enough, and they're getting no help from local police. Keep pushing. ICE patriots have your backs. Let's check out this video. I mean, what the fuck are you standing up against his car anyway, dude? Let me guess, you can't breathe, right? Oh, they want water. I thought these leftist protesters came prepared. Oh, look, somebody did. Uh-oh, another Karen. Good grief. And what's hilarious is that these are the same dingbats that are screaming about rent being out of control, the cost for housing being out of control, the cost of their electricity being out of control, food is out of control. And then, yet they're arguing for all of these immigrants that flooded our country that caused a lot of this to get out of control. to not only stay, but I'm sure they're inviting more. We're a sanctuary state. We're a sanctuary city. Send them all in, because that just makes total sense, right? All right, Homeland Security. Reminder to all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. Anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you, tries to obstruct you, is committing a felony. I believe this whole quote is in the video, so I'll just go ahead and play the video.
To all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony.
Yes, they are.
You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties. And the Department of Justice has made clear that if officials cross that line into obstruction, into criminal conspiracy,
you mean agitators cross the
against
line,
the United States or against ICE officers, then they will face justice.
Yeah, well, it would sure be nice if they actually did do that. I mean, I see these videos time and time again where all these agitators and protesters are standing right in front of them, forming lines, or just standing out in the middle of the street while ICE agents are trying to either walk past or drive their vehicles past, and they don't arrest them. They just shove them out of the way. And it's really frustrating, man. Like, they should have this, I don't know, Secretary Kristi Noem, I think she should put out this policy that if you go hands-on with anybody, even if you're shoving them out of the way, arrest them. Because if you have to shove them out of the way, that means that they are obstructing your movement as a federal agent. Okay, so this is from Ilhan Omar. Kristi Noem must be impeached. This is from C-SPAN. Rep. Robin Kelly. I rise today to announce I will be impeaching Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Secretary Noem has violated the Constitution and needs to be held accountable for terrorizing our communities. All right, so we'll give this video a play, and I think I have a response on this.
Speaker, I rise today to announce I will be impeaching Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
Dun, dun, dun.
Secretary Noem has violated the Constitution, and she needs to be held.
It's 4 minutes. We're not going to play the whole thing, but I'll repost it.
Operation Midway Blitz has torn apart the Chicagoland area. President
Oh yeah, it's just like a smoldering, just crater of what Chicago used to be, right?
In the form of immigration enforcement. In my district, federal agents rappelled down from Black Hawk helicopters and burst into an apartment building in the South Shore area.
Yeah, they did, and they rounded up a ton of drug dealers and gangbangers.
Their beds in the middle of the night.
I think they arrested something like 100 of them. It was Tren de Aragua.
I don't understand this president's obsession with Venezuela.
Just let gangbangers be gangbangers.
Arrest a single member from that gang. I visited that apartment building and saw firsthand the destruction those agents left. Doors to people's homes or apartments were kicked down. Belongings, including little kids' toys, were strewn.
I mean, were they lawfully renting this property, or did they force their way in? The gangbangers, that is.
Not just immigrants, but everyone. Now Secretary Noem has brought her reign of terror to Minneapolis after she left Charlotte and Raleigh.
All right, well, anyway, there's a lot to get through, so I will repost this if you want to check that out on your own time. And there's a direct link to my profile in the description below. It should be at the top of my profile if you decide to check that out, or you can go to C-SPAN. I'm sure they probably post 1,000 things a day, so if you want the timestamp, it's 10:56 a.m. If you decide to go over to C-SPAN and check it out. And with regard to Ilhan Omar, let me see what I can't remember what I said, but I know I said something, but maybe I didn't. Yeah, here we go. If Kristi Noem is removed, Tom Homan will be the obvious replacement, which is crazy that they would want to impeach Kristi Noem, because I would not be the least bit surprised if that's who President Trump decides to replace Kristi Noem, if she were to be replaced. And like, do you really want Tom Homan instead of Secretary Kristi Noem? I would think not, because I mean, he would be. Look, Kristi Noem, I think she's doing a fine job in and of itself, but I mean, I think Tom Homan, he would absolutely push forward like a policy like what I suggested, that if they have to lay a hand on a protester, tackle them, arrest them, go hands on, take them to jail, the whole 9 yards. But I don't know, maybe Tom Homan wouldn't be suitable for the job. I don't know Tom Homan too well. I just know that he's the border czar right now, so it kind of seems fitting if they were to replace Kristi Noem with him, if they had to. All right, so anyway, Rapid Response 47. This is from the president. On Minnesota, we have taken out killers, R-worders, drug dealers, people from mental institutions who came in illegally. They came in under the Biden ridiculous open borders policies, and we've gotten a lot of them out. Yeah, thank God.
You saw my statement on Iran. You saw my statement on Minnesota. On Minnesota, we have taken out killers, rapists, drug dealers, people from mental institutions that came in illegally. All of them, most of them came in illegally. They're from other countries. They came in under the Biden ridiculous open border policy, and we've gotten a lot of them out. We just had numbers from Chicago, where Chicago crime has gone down pretty good. It could go down 100% virtually, but we're fighting with that governor who's so incompetent. But as you know, we took out a lot of killers, murderers, drug dealers, drug addicts, mental institution people, and people from jails. We took them out of Chicago. So Chicago's got much better numbers now than it had a few months ago. We will get no credit for it. But
yeah, as far as I understand, their crime numbers are a lot better. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Washington, D.C. is almost non-existent. It's a safe place, so people can come bring their families. They can send their son and daughter to look at Lincoln, Washington, Jefferson, or whatever they want to look at. But it's almost non-existent. We're very proud of that. Memphis is making tremendous strides, and so is New Orleans. We have a whole group of people, and crime in New Orleans is down about 65%. We've only been there for 3 weeks. So it's really amazing what's happening throughout the country. The crime numbers are among the best numbers we've ever had.
All right, well, there you go. And this is from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. ICE arrest criminal illegal aliens. Communities get safer. Governor Walz and Mayor Frey's radical sanctuary agenda is doing the opposite, putting Minnesotans at risk. Here are some of the monsters Walz, Frey, and rioters are defending in Minnesota. And if I'm not mistaken, I did go through this already. Yeah, I believe I did back on the 10th or thereabouts around that time. And it's just, actually, I think it's a fairly long list, actually. Usually they'll release like 3 or 4 images at a time. But yeah, I mean, they've got a long list for this post. And these are just all of some of the violent criminals that they have arrested and what they have been arrested for. And I suppose I will, since I'm not going to go through that one by one, I'll just do the same as I did in the last post. And as soon as I can find the top of it, good grief. All right, I'll repost that as well. And we'll go back and we'll check out the next post. One more. Here we go. And moving on to the GOP, who posted Donald Trump's Truth Social post from the president. Do the people of Minnesota really want to live in a community in which there are thousands of already convicted murderers, drug dealers, and addicts, R-worders, violent, released, and escaped prisoners, dangerous people from foreign mental institutions and insane asylums, and other deadly criminals too dangerous to even mention? All the patriots of ICE want to do is remove them from your neighborhood and send them back to the prisons and mental institutions from where they came. Most in foreign countries who illegally entered the U.S. through Sleepy Joe Biden's horrible open borders policy. Every place we go, crime comes down. In Chicago, despite a weak and incompetent governor and mayor fighting us all the way, a big improvement was made. Thousands of criminals were removed. Minnesota Democrats love the unrest that anarchists and professional agitators are causing because it gets the spotlight off the $19 billion that was stolen by really bad and deranged people. Fear not, great people of Minnesota, the day of reckoning and retribution is coming. And like I said, there just doesn't seem to be much pushback in Minneapolis at all against the leftist agitators, the outrage mob that just keeps showing up in force against ICE agents. But I suppose there could be an argument to be made that they don't want to show up in fear of clashes, and they don't want to get arrested for simply supporting ICE. So I don't know. And like the conservatives, they don't typically organize a mass protests against the leftists. Not generally speaking. Sometimes they do. But anyway, so from Department of State, and this is another quote from the president: no country can afford to take in millions of people, pay for their education, their health care, their hospitals. Many of those people are murderers, and so on and so forth. So we'll take a look at this.
No country can afford to take in millions of people, pay for their education, their health care, their hospitals. You just can't do it. And we all have a heart. You can't do it.
Nope, we don't have the money, man.
Many of those people are murderers.
Which is ironic because the Democrats are like, oh, innocent millions of Americans are losing their health care because they didn't extend the subsidies on Obamacare. But they're perfectly fine with millions of illegal immigrants coming in and overwhelming our health care system.
People released from jails, prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums. They're people that are drug dealers. They're addicts. Additionally, starting February 1st, we're not making any payments to sanctuary cities or states having sanctuary cities because they do everything possible to protect criminals at the expense of American citizens, and it breeds fraud and crime and all of the other problems that come. So we're not making any payment to anybody that supports sanctuary cities.
Wow, man, that's a hell of a statement. I wonder what that encompasses. Is the scope just going to be for like social services, or is it going to be just across the board? Are they going to withhold federal funding for roads and construction and things like that too? I don't know. But he just simply says we're not making any payments to sanctuary cities. So, I mean, it sounds like it's going to be across the board. I'm not sure if President Trump himself has the authority to do that as the president. However, you got Republicans that are in control of Congress. Not that they really seem to be doing a whole lot. And this comes from the White House 2 hours ago. Another urgent priority for bringing down the cost of living is to stop the colossal fraud. Our country has been losing over $500 billion to fraud every single year, but those days are over. President Donald J. Trump. And no video, just an image. And rolling to the next one. We're going to head into the Iran situation. Good morning from Iran. This was just yesterday, January the 12th. Wow, that's a lot of people. Well, it's kind of surprising even this video got out because they've had an internet blackout. One government official that I'll get to in a minute says that it's been 4 days since they blacked out the internet across Iran. I think it's more like 2 weeks, though. I mean, I believe I first heard that no less than a week ago when they cut off the internet to the whole country. However, these videos, I believe it's through Starlink that they're getting these videos out, at least so I've heard. All right, so this is from the Persian Jewess. Los Angeles is home to the largest community of Persian refugees in America. Today, they rally outside the federal building in solidarity with the Iranian protesters. Free Iran. Happening in Los Angeles. And when was that? A couple of days ago, I think. January 11th, so day before yesterday. It was somewhat recent. And this is from Mayar Tuzi. Another mosque bites the dust in Iran. No sound. But they torched it. And knocked over some bookcases. Some vandalism happening. And then setting it on fire. And the next post, Dr. Malouf, she's so real for this. Most Iranians think this way. Iran will very soon be free from the evil Islamic regime. Help is on the way. And her sign reads, I am not Muslim. I am Persian. I hate Islam. Yeah, that is a bold statement. I mean, clearly they've had enough. They've had enough. All right, so this is from the House Foreign Affairs Committee majority. The Ayatollah's fall is inevitable. The rial is worthless, and the regime can't fund even basic services. Khamenei's, I think that's how you say his name. I looked it up earlier. I think it was like Khamenei. Anyway, the only way to cling to power now is by slaughtering innocent Iranians rising up to protest. That's not a winning strategy.
Does the president have to act now? It seems like he's not in a corner, but he's made threats. The Iranians have responded with more killings. Does the president have to act now?
The president is responding to the situation on the ground there, which is thousands of Iranians are being killed. And I think we are in a moment where my personal assessment is regime change is almost inevitable there. And that's more so because of the regime. Number one, everybody knows they're hugely dictatorial. They'll kill thousands of their people, but the people have responded to the point of something almost unheard of. They've killed several hundred of government security forces. That's unheard of.
Oh, wow.
You could take an American George Washington $1 bill. You go down to the currency exchange, they're going to give you back about $1 million to $1.5 million reals
like
for
$1.5 million.
$1 American. It's literally the most worthless currency.
Like
they can't
1.3
provide
million.
basic things like water, and they're spending any extra dollars that
Went
they
over
have
those numbers
in
a few
supporting
days ago.
groups like the Houthis and Hezbollah for points of terrorism around the world. Those things cause me to assess that regime change there is about inevitable. They probably have jets standing by to take them to Moscow with as much wealth as they can carry. I hope all of their neighbors are prepared to not grant them airspace.
So you think that they can be overthrown without military action from the United States?
I think
Well, I would
military
certainly
action
hope
from
so.
the United States is something that the MO of this administration is to help get significant hurdles out of the way for people to move to a point where they have a hopeful future. Whether you're looking at what took place in Syria, whether you're looking at what just recently happened in Venezuela, one morning operation and the Venezuelan people have an opportunity to get to the point of free and fair elections. I think the writing is on the wall right now for what's going on with Iran, that there's a few significant hurdles. Those hurdles are moved out of the way. There's a totally new opportunity for the Iranian people.
Well, and of course, Democrats are going to push back heavily if the Trump administration tries to involve our military in any way with Iran. But at the same time, they're all about sending hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine, even though they're totally anti-war. Okay, so this is from ViceGrad24. Why aren't these pictures from Iran all over the front pages of mainstream media outlets? Yeah, that really makes you wonder. It's just so interesting how they just don't want to show this. They don't want to bring it up. Hundreds of people, maybe even thousands of people have been killed at this point in Iran by the Ayatollah. And this is from Senator Dave McCormick. 4 long days since Iran cut off the internet in order to commit atrocities in total darkness. Thousands are being arrested and killed in cold blood for demanding basic dignity. The regime in Iran has lost all credibility and legitimacy, and the people of Iran deserve their freedom. The sheer courage of these young Iranian men and women standing up to this barbaric tyranny is outstanding. And apparently what really led the protest to blow up into high gear is due to the rampant inflation. And it's just the currency is just inflating just wildly out of control. And anyway, this is from CBS News. Information trickling out of Iran on Tuesday suggests that a crackdown by authorities to end more than 2 weeks of widespread anti-government protests has likely been far more deadly than activists outside the country have reported, with phone lines opening back up for calls from inside the Islamic Republic. 2 sources, including one inside Iran, told CBS News on Tuesday that at least 12,000 and possibly as many as 20,000 people have been killed. Britain's Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper said in Parliament on Tuesday that the UK government believed there may have been 2,000 people killed. There may have been more. My fear is that the number may prove to be significantly higher. The truth has been incredibly difficult to piece together due to Iran's hardline rulers cutting off internet access and phone service in the country for the last 5 days. While a complete internet shutdown in Iran has remained in place for a 5th day, some Iranians were able to make phone calls out of the country on Tuesday, though it was still not possible to call into Iran from outside. A source inside Iran who was able to call out told CBS News on Tuesday that activist groups working to compile a full death toll from the protests, based on reports from medical officials across the country, believed the toll was at least 12,000 and possibly as high as 20,000. The same source said security forces were visiting the many private hospitals across Tehran, threatening staff to hand over the names and addresses of those being treated for injuries sustained in the protests. CBS News has not been able to independently verify the massive death toll indicated by the source, which is many times larger than the numbers reported by most activist groups independently in recent days. Though those groups have always made it clear that their tallies are likely underestimated. The opposition Iran International Television Network said Tuesday that its information suggested about 12,000 people were killed. A source in Washington with contacts in Iran told CBS News on Tuesday that a credible source had told them the toll was likely between 10 and 12. Iranian officials have not provided regular official estimates of overall deaths from the unrest. Reuters quoted an unnamed Iranian official Tuesday as saying about 2,000 people were killed since the protest began on December 28th and blaming the violence on foreign-influenced terrorists, even suggesting that agitators have been paid to foment chaos. Anyway, CBS News has verified that video posted online Tuesday shows the bodies of at least 366 and likely more than 400 people killed amid the protests piled up at a morgue in a Tehran suburb. The video appears to show forensic personnel documenting gruesome injuries on the bodies and crowds of people seemingly trying to identify the dead. The injuries visible are extensive and include gunshot wounds, birdshot, shotgun wounds, gashes, and other severe injuries. New video shows badly injured bodies lined up at a morgue. An Iranian activist and blogger who identifies himself only as Vahid Online first posted the shocking 16-minute clip. Vahid said it was sent to him from a source who traveled about 600 miles to upload the video amid the communications blackout. The graphic video shows people with what appear to be injuries caused by bullets and gunshot pellets, as well as other wounds and piles of bloody clothing inside the morgue compound. Okay, so obviously we're on YouTube, and YouTube doesn't want to show, or doesn't want graphic stuff to be shown. So, I'll just leave it there, but that will be posted. Of course, everything I open, it all gets posted below, or shared below in the description. And we'll head on to Vivid. This is from an Iranian girl. Islam is neither the religion of Iran nor that of ancient Persia. Islam was imposed on us through torture, massacres, and by enslaving Iranians to convert them to Islam. The Iranians or Persians were actually Zoroastrians. So we'll take a look at this
Islam
video.
Isn't the religion of Iran, or isn't the religion of ancient Persia. Islam was forced on us after torturing, killing, beheading, raping, and slaving Iranians into becoming Muslim. Iranians, Persians, were actually Zoroastrian. And even though we might not label ourselves Zoroastrian anymore, it all traces back to it. Zoroastrianism is, you can't even call it a religion when you look at the scripture itself, but it's the first monotheistic religion believing in one true God and one God that rules it all. The most famous example of Zoroastrian priest being mentioned is in the Bible when the dream Magi go find Mary and offer her frankincense, myrrh, and gold. Because they used to calculate the stars, and the star led to Messiah at the time. Zoroastrians have one mantra. It's good words, good thoughts, good deeds. That's why Cyrus the Great always believed in humanity. He freed the slaves, freed the Jews. He gave everyone the same rights. He gave women rights. That's just a Zoroastrian culture. And the culture itself, you could probably, if you were to look at the Gathas and read the Avesta and Horde Avesta, you would see it's more of a philosophy of life. God inherently wanted the world to be good. God never wanted the world to be bad. I will share more about this, but good words, good thoughts, good deeds. And that's what reflects in the Iranian people compared to its terrorist regime, torturing, killing, raping, murdering innocent children, innocent humans, innocent adults, someone's father, someone's mother, someone's sister, someone's daughter. So I urge you to start educating yourself before you take on sides or embrace propagandas that are funded by actual terrorist groups that are trying to come to you next.
All right, well, there you have it. I'm not sure what the whole issue was with the music. That was not on my end. That was in the video. But anyway, Zoroastrians. I've actually not heard of that religion before, so I guess you learn something new every day. Yeah, hopefully the killing stops as soon as possible. There's really no way of knowing, as long as the internet's blacked out, like really what the numbers are, but hopefully it's not that high. That's terrifying. Okay, so this is from Rapid Response 47 with the president being interviewed earlier today at Joint Base Andrews. I believe this was today. Anyway, Rapid Response, they posted it 4 hours ago, so I'm sure it was. So the president says the message is they've got to show humanity. They've got a big problem, and I hope they're not going to be killing people. It would seem to me that they have been badly misbehaving, but that is not confirmed.
Do you have a message for the leaders currently of Iran? Yeah, the message is they've got to show humanity. They've got a big problem. and I hope they're not going to be killing people. And I'm going to have a report very soon. It would seem to me that they have been badly misbehaving, but that is not confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, apparently that they sent in essentially Iraqi military contractors into Iran to enforce the laws of Iran, and they've put up snipers on top of rooftops. So I've heard. Don't even know if that's actually true or not, but I believe I mentioned that yesterday on the Swamp. And this is another one with President Trump. Yeah, Iran said that the last time I blew them up with the nuclear capability, which they don't have any longer, so they better behave. Yikes.
That it will retaliate in the instance of U.S. strikes against U.S. assets in the Middle East. What do you say to U.S. service members about why it is worth the risk to intervene in Iran?
Yeah, Iran said that the last time I blew them up with the nuclear capability, which they don't have any longer. So Iran said that the last time. They better behave.
All right. Yeah, they better behave. Okay. And this is from House Foreign Affairs Committee Majority. One more from them. To the Iranian people, Ayatollah Khamenei has butchered your people, made rial the weakest currency in the world, and squandered your country's resources. Make regime change inevitable. And I believe that's the last I have for Iran. Oh, no, it's not. I've got this from President Trump. Iranian patriots keep protesting. Take over your institutions. Save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price. I have canceled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. Help is on its way. Make Iran great again, President Donald J. Trump. And we're going to move on to U.S. State Department Near Eastern Affairs. And they've got this. Let me see. Maybe that one, I might have actually put this on the wrong way. Let me do this one first from Secretary Marco Rubio. Today, we are designating the Lebanese, Egyptian, and Jordanian chapters of the Muslim Brotherhood as terrorist groups. Under President Trump's leadership, the United States will eliminate the capabilities and operations of Muslim Brotherhood chapters that threaten U.S. citizens and our national security. And this is going to be from state.gov. Terrorist designations of Muslim Brotherhood chapters. And this is... and it reads as follows. Today, as a first step in support of President Trump's commitment to eliminate the capabilities and operations of Muslim Brotherhood chapters that pose a threat to the United States, as described in Executive Order 14362, the United States is imposing terrorist designations against the Lebanese, Jordanian, and Egyptian chapters of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Department of State is designating the Lebanese Muslim Brotherhood as a foreign terrorist organization and especially designated global terrorist, or SDGT, and the group's leader, Mohammed Fawzi Tekosh, as an SDGT. Concurrently, the Department of the Treasury is designating the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood and Jordanian Muslim Brotherhood as SDGTs for providing material support to Hamas. These designations reflect the opening actions of an ongoing sustained effort to thwart Muslim Brotherhood chapters' violence and destabilization wherever it occurs. The United States will use all available tools to deprive these Muslim Brotherhood chapters of the resources to engage in or support terrorism. And so the one that I skipped over, designations of Muslim Brotherhood chapters, and it's probably going to be the same. Oh, no, it's different. Okay, I thought that they had bullet points. So today, the Department of State announces the designation of the Lebanese Muslim Brotherhood as a foreign terrorist organization and especially designated global terrorist, and its Secretary General, Mohammed Fawzi Tekosh, as an SDGT. Lebanese Muslim Brotherhood, LMB, following the October 7th, 2023 Hamas attack. LMB, also known as Al-Jama al-Islamiyah, reactivated its Al-Fajr forces and launched rockets in coordination with Hezbollah and Hamas from Lebanon into northern Israel. In March of 2024, the Israel Defense Forces launched an attack against Al-Fajr forces, operatives who were preparing to carry out terrorist attacks against Israel. In July of 2025, the Lebanese army dismantled a covert military training camp that included LMB and Hamas militants. Under LMB Secretary General Mohammed Fawzi Tekosh's leadership, the group has pushed for a more formal alignment with the Hezbollah-Hamas axis. And it goes into other, like the Egyptian Islamic Jihad. They go into the details with that. And also the IG, Gamas al-Islamiyah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, also Hamas, and HASM or Hasm, Harakat Sawad Misr, and Liwa al-Thawra, And is that it? Yep, looks like that's going to be it, but I will have that linked if you want to take a look at that as well. And this is going to be from U.S. Central Command. This is a statement from Admiral Brad Cooper from CENTCOM, the commander. Quote, "We are closely monitoring developments in Aleppo and the surrounding region. We urge all parties to exercise maximum restraint, avoid actions that could further escalate tensions, and prioritize the protection of civilians and critical infrastructure. We also continue to call on all relevant actors to return to the negotiating table in good faith and pursue a durable diplomatic resolution through dialogue. As I've previously stated, a Syria at peace with itself and its neighbors can lead to a more peaceful and prosperous Middle East. The United States and Syria have a shared interest in preserving peace and stability across the region." Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM commander. And this is from House Republicans. "Anti-Semitism has no place in America. This vile attack is an attack on the very character of America. House Republicans stand with the Jewish community and wholly and categorically condemn all forms of anti-Semitic hate." And this is with regard to the Jackson, Mississippi synagogue fire that broke out a couple days ago. The suspect who lit a fire inside a historic Jackson, Mississippi synagogue over the weekend admitted it was because of the building's Jewish ties, according to an FBI criminal complaint filed in U.S. District Court in Mississippi on Monday. So definitely an act of domestic terrorism, I would assume. I'm sure that's how they're treating it. And so the suspect charged with setting a fire inside a historic Jackson, Mississippi synagogue over the weekend admitted it was because of the building's Jewish ties. Security footage showed the arson suspect, Stephen Spencer Pittman, inside Beth Israel congregation around 3 a.m. on Saturday, pouring what appeared to be gasoline, according to the complaint. Pittman was charged with maliciously damaging or destroying a building by means of fire or an explosive. Authorities said Pittman's father reached out to the FBI, saying his son confessed to starting the fire, which was later corroborated by map data from a location sharing app Pittman had on his phone. Pittman also texted his father a photo of the back of the synagogue, writing, "There's a furnace in the back." The complaint alleges, noting that his father pleaded for his son to return home. Hours later, Pittman's father confronted his son after noticing burns on his ankles. Pittman laughed as he told his father what he did and said he finally got them, the complaint said. Good grief, man, what a monster. That evening, investigators at the Jackson Fire Department and Hinds County Sheriff's Office interviewed Pittman, who admitted to starting the fire and called the building the Synagogue of Satan, according to the complaint. He told investigators he stopped to purchase gasoline, removed his license plate, and broke into the building through a window with an axe, using a torch lighter to start the fire after pouring gasoline. As we learned that it was arson, the anger really comes to the top of what your mind thinks, Beth Israel Congregation President Zach Schimper told CBS News on Monday. Jackson Mayor John Horn condemned acts of anti-Semitism, racism, and religious hatred, which he said will be treated as acts of terror against residents. Targeting people because of their faith, race, ethnicity, or sexual orientation is morally wrong, un-American, and completely incompatible with the values of this city, he said in a statement posted to social media on Sunday. Beth Israel, established over 160 years ago, is Jackson's only synagogue and was the first synagogue in the state. Quote, "We are grateful that he was apprehended so quickly, and he appears to have admitted to committing this heinous act out of hatred for the Jewish people," Beth Israel said Monday following the release of the criminal complaint. Quote, "This news puts a face and name to this tragedy, but does not change our resolve to proudly, even defiantly, continue Jewish life in Jackson in the face of hatred." In 1967, Beth Israel was bombed by the Ku Klux Klan members. 2 months later, they bombed the home of the congregation's rabbi as well, according to the Beth Israel website. The rabbi wasn't home at the time, and no one was hurt in the bombings. There are still congregants at the synagogue who were members during those bombings, according to a representative for Beth Israel. Well, all these people who are engaging in all of this anti-Semitism and religious hatred, they ain't coming from the right. They're not coming from conservatives. They're overwhelmingly, I would say virtually 100% are coming from the left. They're coming from the progressives, the leftists, which coincidentally, not so coincidentally, happens to be where the Ku Klux Klan originated too. Fancy that. All right, so that'll be linked if you want to take a look at that, or the rest of it, rather. All right, so Rapid Response 47 from the president. After less than 12 months in office, I'm back in Michigan to report to you the strongest and fastest economic turnaround in our country's history. Growth is exploding, investment is booming, incomes are rising, inflation is defeated, America is respected again.
Now, after less than 12 months in office, I'm back in Michigan to report to you on the strongest and fastest economic turnaround in our country's history. It's really been historic. There's never been, we're not 12 months, we're through 11 months. We've got $18 trillion being invested in our country. The most of any country ever was $3 trillion.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
We're at 18. There's never been anything like this. You are so lucky I allow you into this room to even be with me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The fake news will say Donald Trump thinks he's hot stuff. Right now I'm feeling pretty good, though, I will say. Oh, you're so lucky to be here. Under our administration, growth is exploding, productivity is soaring, investment is booming, incomes are rising, inflation is defeated, America is respected again like never before.
All right, well, most likely the reason President Trump said you're all lucky to be here is probably because if Biden's policies continued, that factory would probably be closed. And for all I know, it recently reopened. It very well might have. All right, and here's another one on the success of Trump's tariffs. And you know what? I've got several of these, so I'm not going to read all the quotes because he's going to voice all these quotes. So I'm just going to play them one after the next.
The Trump tariffs have
next one.
Delivered us trillions of dollars of new investment, unprecedented new partnerships on minerals, rare earths, defense, and artificial intelligence, and historic levels of foreign military sales. You know, you have the Supreme Court now going to rule on whether or not we can use tariffs. Can you believe this? A case brought about by people that are China-centric, foreign-centric, but China-centric.
Yes, they
I
are.
wouldn't want it if I was China either. You know,
Democrats love the
one of our
CCP,
biggest
man. They want to be the CCP.
Taxpayers right now. China, would you ever believe
Party over
that?
country.
And they've been great. My relationship with President Xi has been great. But we have a group that's foreign-centric, China-centric, suing. And we'll figure something out if we don't win. But we should win. I mean, we should win. So great for national security. I ended 8 wars. Think of that. 8 wars. And without trade and tariffs, you wouldn't have been able to end any of them. But they brought hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into the United States Treasury, helped curb inflation, and helped cut the federal budget deficit by a staggering 27%. And that's only for a short period of time. The number's much bigger than that when you add in the full year.
Well, you know, that quote that I use, Democrats put party over country, is ironically from a Democrat named John Fetterman. Okay, and we got another one with regard to, let's see, the trade deficit under Biden, we had the largest trade deficit ever recorded, losing more than $1 trillion every single year.
Under Biden, we had the highest trade deficit ever recorded, losing more than $1 trillion every single year. How about that? It was killing Michigan, and everywhere else in our country was being absolutely destroyed. But in a matter of months, largely because of tariff income and the election result, we've slashed that gaping trade deficit by, in a short period of time, 62, it just came out, 62% under Biden.
I'm telling you what, man, Biden taking over in 2020, I think that was just a long-term outlook. I think it was a blessing in disguise because Trump's second term is way more consequential, more powerful, influential than his first term. And I think if he just rolled straight into a second term, I truly believe that I don't think that these economic policies would have been implemented to this extent, because I think him having 4 years in between his terms probably led President Trump to these policies that he's enacting during his second term. Not 100% confident on that, but I actually think that that's definitely the case, that it turned out to be quite a good thing. That you know, well, and plus I've always believed that a president's second term is going to be monumentally more powerful than the first term, because in your first term you got your re-election to worry about, so you got to kind of walk a fine line trying to please everybody. But once you're in for your second term, look, of course he still has to make sure that Republicans retain power, so it's not like he can just rule with an iron fist, whatever I say goes, even though in large part Trump does seem to be doing that. But I mean, everything that he's been doing, I would say at least 95% of it has been much better than what we had otherwise, especially under Joe Biden. So anyway, after real wages plummeted by $3,000 under Sleepy Joe Biden, real wages are up by $1,300 in less than a year under President Trump.
After real wages plummeted by $3,000 under Sleepy Joe Biden, real wages are up by $1,300 in less than 1 year under President Trump. For construction workers, wages are up $1,800. Don't forget, they were down $3,000. Factory workers over $2,000, and for many other workers over $5,000. $1,000, and I just gave the military, because we're doing so well with taking in so much money with the tariffs, I just gave them $17.76. You saw that, right? Did you see that? They had 75, and I said, you know, if you had one more dollar, it's $17.76. They said, that was a good idea. We could afford one more dollar. We gave them $17.76. Meanwhile, grocery prices are starting to go rapidly down. Rent is down. Airfares are down. Hotel rates are down. Cell phone prices are down. And we're just getting started. But
yeah, man, a lot of stuff is heading down. And of course, Democrats, they say, well, we need all of these illegal immigrants because we've got deficits in the agriculture sector and in the construction industry. But the reality is if they would pay a fair wage, then Americans would gladly take those jobs. But you know, the reality is they just want illegal immigrants to employ so they could pay them, what, $3, $4, $6, $7 an hour? All right, so the president of Michigan, just as I promised you, I've imposed a 25% tariff on all foreign automobiles. U.S. auto factories are now seeing more than $70 billion of new investment.
But just as I promised you that I've imposed a 25% tariff on all foreign automobiles, I'm standing up for the American auto worker like no president has ever stood up before. You know, those tariffs are keeping the foreign auto workers. Now, if they want to come in and build a plant and hire you and hire your friends and your neighbors, that's great. I love that. Let China come in, let Japan come in. They are. And they'll be building plants, but they're using our labor. U.S. auto factories are now seeing more than $70 billion of new investment. Think of that. They were leaving. They were all going. They were going in the opposite direction. Now they're pouring back. It's the greatest. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And much of that money is coming right here to the car-making capital of the world, Detroit. But just as I promised...
All right, well, and you know what? If companies are struggling to find workers and the unemployment rate is at the bare minimum, then you can make the argument that we can open up immigration and bring in foreign workers, but skilled workers, at least for the industries that we need, at least I believe. Isn't that what the H-1B visa was supposed to be all about? That if there's companies that they're in demand for workers, but they've got the applications or they've got the job positions open and they just can't find any Americans to take those jobs, then they can reach out to, you know, the world abroad to try to find somebody to take that job. But it turns out that they've been abusing it relentlessly, and especially in recent years. All right, so U.S. Trade Representative from 7 hours ago. President Trump's tariff program is shrinking our trade deficit, which hit a 16-year low in October.
We want to get the trade deficit down, going in the right direction and down. So last year, the trade deficit
I believe that's
was
Jameson Greer.
$1.2 trillion, well, in 2024. The highest it's ever been in American history. It exploded by 40% over the previous 5 years. We've stopped that trend, and it's going the other direction. And then third, we want to make sure that real wages are going up. And we're seeing that as well. Inflation has been in check and ticking down, and average private earnings over the past year are up 4%. So the wages are outpacing inflation, which is exactly what we want to see.
Well, let's hope it continues that way. I mean, it's got a long way to go before it finally catches up to the point where, you know, many, if not most of the middle class finally have some breathing room. And I've got this from Rapid Response, yet another one, but I think that's the last one. Yeah, it looks like this is going to be the last one with regard to President Trump's visit to Michigan. Quote, "We had a wonderful speech in front of great people in Detroit. I'm going back to the White House now. We're going to look at the whole situation, what's going on in Iran. We'll get some accurate numbers as to what's happening with regard to the killing." So I probably should have actually included that earlier when I was on the subject of Iran, but that's all right.
We had a wonderful speech in front of great people in Detroit, and mostly in the car business, and we're setting records in manufacturing. It's going very well. I think people appreciated what I had to say in terms of the numbers. So we're very happy about that. I'm going back to the White House now. We're going to look at the whole situation that's going on in Iran. It's really bad stuff. And Minnesota is going to have to take care of itself for a little while. We have tremendous theft and fraud going on in that state because you have an incompetent governor, grossly incompetent governor, and a corrupt governor. But we'll straighten that out. But Iran is on my mind when I see the kind of death that is happening over there, we think. So we're going to get some accurate numbers. I'll have it in about 20 minutes. We'll get some accurate numbers as to what's happening with regard to the killing. The killing looks like it's significant, but we don't know yet for certain. I'll know within 20 minutes. So, and we'll act accordingly.
Well, at least he'll have the best information that the federal government can provide him. But the reality is what we've already learned, that there's still an internet blackout in Iran, and you can't make calls into Iran, so we don't know. But it seems like the numbers are ranging anywhere from 12 to 20,000 people who have been killed. And like they said, the numbers could be much higher than that. So let's see. So this one's going to get into inflation real quick. I want to see if there's any latest on what's happening in Venezuela, because nobody's really talked about Venezuela over the last couple of days from what I've seen. So are there any updates on the situation in Venezuela? Just a short summary, because if I don't put the word short there, Grok is going to produce this real long summary as to what's going on. So some of these major updates on Venezuela as of mid-January 2026. In early January, okay, so we already know that the military, arrested Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Delcy Rodriguez, former VP, was sworn in as interim president by Venezuela's Supreme Court. See, I didn't know that. So now they've got an interim president in Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, who was Maduro's vice president, I believe. The U.S. under Trump stated it would run or influence the country temporarily for a judicious transition, focusing heavily on controlling Venezuelan oil sales and exports, the world's largest reserves of oil, and easing some sanctions in exchange for cooperation. The opposition, led by Maria Corina Machado, who happened to win the Nobel Peace Prize last year, and others, have been largely sidelined. Trump dismissed Machado's leadership potential, prioritizing stability via regime remnants. All right, I guess. Security remains tense. U.S. State Department issued a do not travel or depart immediately alert on January 10th due to fluid situation. Reports of pro-regime paramilitaries, collectivos, targeting Americans, roadblocks, and etc. Some positive steps: limited releases of political prisoners, exploratory talks to restore U.S.-Venezuela diplomatic ties, Venezuela reopening oil wells and fields previously shut down by the sanctions. Protest and mixed reactions continue, celebrations from opposition supporters, but also pro-Maduro marches demanding his release and denouncing U.S. invasion/kidnapping. Overall, high uncertainty. No full regime change, no clear path to elections. The U.S. is deeply involved in oil and politics. Humanitarian needs are ongoing. The situation is still volatile, but no major escalations have been reported in the last few days. And these are some of the sources that it pulled from: ve.usembassy.gov, ABC News, CNN, Al Jazeera, The Guardian, ABC News, UN.org, and goes on from there. How many was that? 20? Yeah, there's 20 different sources, plus 14 different posts that it pulled from. All right, so anyway, let's get back to this. Senate Republicans, core inflation is down to the lowest level since March of 2021. Joe Biden and Democrats made everything more expensive for working families. Senate Republicans are working with the president to make America affordable again. It looks like they've got $2.89 gas, but that's not the national average. I believe the national average is down to, what was it, like $2.70, $2.65, somewhere along those lines. So this is from Yahoo Finance. And let me get rid of that player. Inflation eased in December as core consumer prices rose at the slowest annual rate since March of 21 in the final month of the year. The Consumer Price Index released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics on Tuesday morning showed that on a core basis, which excludes the more volatile categories of food and energy, consumer prices rose 0.2% over the previous month and 2.6% over the previous year. The 2.6% increase in core CPI matches the rise reported in November and equals the slowest pace of annual inflation since March of 2021. On a headline basis, consumer prices rose 0.3% over the prior month and 2.7% over the last year. Economists were expecting to see a 0.3 monthly increase and a 2.7 rise over the prior year for both headline and core inflation in December, according to estimates from Bloomberg. Inflation has remained stubbornly above the Federal Reserve's 2% target for some time. It has drifted downward over the past year, however, and has been characterized by policymakers as a less acute risk to the economy than a dramatic softening of the labor market. And looks like this is a quote from Stephen Brown, an economist at Capital Economics, and he wrote in a note following the release of the numbers, quote, "The downside surprise to core prices in December occurred despite some payback in certain items following their suspiciously weak prices moves over October and November, suggesting that underlying inflation pressures have genuinely moderated in recent months." Tuesday's report comes in just a few days after the December jobs report showed the unemployment rate retreated from a 4-year high, largely firming up investor bets that the Federal Reserve will keep rates unchanged later this month. Following the December CPI report, data from the CME Group showed markets putting 95% odds on the Fed keeping rates unchanged at the conclusion of its January 27-28 meeting. Yeah, I'm sure that'll probably remain unchanged. The details of Tuesday's report showed inflation pressures on household food budgets remain notable, with the index for food rising almost a percentage point in December and outpacing overall price increases. The BLS noted that 5 of the 6 major grocery store food groups, which includes grains, meats, dairy, fruits, drinks, and other foods at home, saw prices rise on a monthly basis in December. Only the cost meat, which includes fish, eggs, and poultry, fell, declining 0.2% in December. And finally, it says, helping push core consumer prices lower was a drop in the price of used cars and trucks, with that index falling 1.7% in December. Airline fares also fell 0.5%, with the overall transportation services category logging a 0.5% drop in prices last month. Well, you could chalk up the auto industry with December being, of course, the final month of the year. They usually lower car prices around that time to try to push out the 2025 models and make way for the 2026 models. But also, the auto industry has been wildly inflated over the past several years, and there's a significant drop in demand for cars right now. And, of course, they've been saying this year after year. There might be like an inventory apocalypse upon us. I read somewhere around 2.6 million vehicles are sitting on dealership lots across America right now, which it's not an all-time high, but it's not far from the all-time high. So I'm sure we'll continue to see a drop in that as the average age of a used car, actually the average age of any car on the road in America is 14 years old, which is an all-time record high. So never in American history has the average age of a car on the road been 14 years old. So, and I'm sure that number's just going to keep going up because, you know, there's too much debt. People got way too much debt with their car payments. A lot of people are upside down. The amount of money that people are upside down, those who are upside down on their car loans with negative equity, it's averaging close to $7,000 per person who has negative equity. So even that number is rising. All right, so we got this from the U.S. Army coming in hot. For decades, the Night Stalkers of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment have performed high-stakes missions under the cover of darkness. Don't miss this inside look at the Night Stalkers' legacy presented by Dennis Quaid during the American Soldier 250 Years of Service concert.
Our soldiers don't step forward for applause or vanity. They do it for the teammate beside them, the families they'll never meet, and a nation that relies on them. Within the world of special operations, most of what they accomplish will never make headlines. Missions that begin in darkness and end without credit. Their success is measured in lives saved, threats avoided, and teammates brought home, not in public recognition. This is the true meaning of selfless service.
I remember 9/11 vividly. And I told myself I would sooner fight and die in a foreign land before another American is killed on American soil.
Now that's patriotism.
The 160th, it's the premier aviation organization in the world with helicopters. If it's special operations, we're working with them to provide precision rotary wing support. And a lot of what we do is going to be at night. It is what we call graduate level flying.
Born from the lessons of a failed 1980 hostage rescue, the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, known as the Night Stalkers, was activated to give U.S. Special Operations units their own elite air support. For over 4 decades, the Night Stalkers have built a legacy of flying when others cannot, often under the cover of darkness.
There's one mission that really sticks out. We're overseas, we put in a ground force, and we were getting shot at on infill. It was craziness on the ground, and we had a young soldier that got shot. And so I was actually flying the casualty evacuation bird. And if you're injured, we were coming in, come hell or high water. I put the coals to it, getting there as fast as I can. I had a chase bird. I told him to drop off about 4 miles from the target area. And we had our rotary ring fire assets overhead, and I'm talking with them. And it was a north-south running valley. And he asked, are you coming north-south or south and north? And I go, bro, I'm coming in west to east. I'm coming in hot and get out of my way. And he's like, okay. And I came over this ridge line, and it looked like a fireworks show with a Pink Floyd concert. Tracers and AAA and lasers and everything everywhere. I told my crew chiefs in the back, just don't even touch your door guns. There's friendlies all over the target area. Our priority is to get this guy. We swooped in. We were on the ground less than 90 seconds, loaded the young guy up, took off, put the coals to it again. We just went as fast as these aircraft will go and got the guy to the hospital. Medals don't mean anything to me because they're just more pieces of flair to put on your uniform. But the best recognition I ever got was our commander had went and visited him in the hospital. He was intubated, he couldn't talk, but he had a whiteboard. And the thing he wrote on there was, please thank the air crew. That's all I needed, and I was ready to go do more.
Nice.
When I look at selfless service, I think about the small amount of the population that actually serves in the military. You're giving of yourself to the greater good.
All right, man, that's
Hey,
awesome, man.
thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, head over to our channel and click the subscribe button. From there, check out our other videos and see what else is going on in the U.S. Army. See you next time.
Very cool. The Night Stalkers from the U.S. Army. And we'll roll to, the legacy of the Night Stalkers, 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. All right, we'll move on to the Ways and Means Democrats. Let's see, over 1.4 million fewer people have enrolled in Obamacare coverage this year. This is a national crisis. More deaths, emergency rooms overwhelmed, hospitals will close, the insurance pool gets sicker, costs balloon even more for everyone. Yeah, of course. Whatever. From the New York Times, which, by the way, it's only got 4 likes. I mean, like, absolutely nobody saw this. And, you know, it's kind of typical of Ways and Means Democrats. I think I'm, like, the only person that's actually given them any attention at all. But anyway, let me just take a look and see where that's at. New York Times, it's going to paywall me, so not going to get anywhere with this. But, of course, I opened it, so I'll link it. And let's roll on to ACYN. Reporter, if the ACA extensions pass the Senate, would you veto it? Trump says, I might. Yeah. So Hakeem Jeffries going on and on about how the House has passed the Obamacare subsidies, extending it by another 3 years. I think it's 3 years, and how it's on its way to the Senate. And provided the Senate does pass it, which I doubt, because I believe they need 60% or a 60% majority in order to pass it. It's going to head to Trump's desk, and he's probably going to veto it. So there you go, Hakeem Jeffries.
Just a 3-year extension of the ACA is in the Senate. If it passes the Senate, would you veto it or allow it to?
I might, yeah.
Yeah, I might. You know, he's keeping his cards close to his chest. Anyway, I've got this from House Democrats. I'm only going to go through maybe a minute of this. I mean, it's pretty much the same song and dance as yesterday, probably talking about the Obamacare subsidies and how clean they are and how desperately it's needed and so on and so on and so on. All right.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be.
Holy shit! I am sorry.
Vice Chair Ted Lieu,
freaking Democrats, man, trying to blow out our eardrums for freaking crying out loud.
Jason Crow, Maggie Goodlander, and Derek Tran. Nearly a year after Donald Trump and Republicans came into power, America is less safe and more expensive. While working families across the country struggle to put food on the table and afford health care, Trump is more concerned with inflaming tensions both home and abroad. The question that Americans continue to ask is, how does intervening in foreign countries, threatening military action on NATO allies, or lying about the shooting of an American citizen in Minnesota do anything to bring down costs?
Well, what about the $100+ billion that the Biden administration sent over to Ukraine? How is that bringing down fucking costs?
It's clear that Donald Trump is unserious about strengthening our economy or making life more affordable for the American people.
Well, he is. I mean, have you taken a look at the stock market? Isn't it at its all-time high in U.S. history?
Meanwhile,
I think so.
Democrats are laser focused on delivering real results.
$18 trillion
invested
families
here
I
in
think
the
so.
United States, and we aren't letting being in the minority stop us. Under Leader Jeffries' leadership, House Democrats have been able to use the few tools that we have at our disposal to take meaningful legislative action. In 2025, Democrats successfully moved 3 discharge petitions forward, restoring federal collective bargaining rights, releasing the Epstein files, and extending the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Republicans, you had a lot of support from Republicans too, because a lot of conservatives, a lot of Republican voters, they also agreed that all the Epstein files be released.
Tax
So, okay.
credits. Let's just stop for a minute and recognize the significance of what that meant for millions of families. But while we continue to get questions,
What, the Epstein
about,
files affects millions of families, huh?
compromises,
Maybe I
and
misheard that.
coming off of our 3 years that we asked for, Democratic leadership and Leader Jeffries decided that we would push this proposal for a 3-year clean extension, and we passed it.
Clean
Strong
extension. So all the fraud that Obamacare is rife with, all that money that's going directly to insurance companies, all of these duplicate Social Security numbers that are being used, that's what they mean by clean. They're not going to mop up any of that mess. Instead, they're just going to pass the exact same Affordable Care Act extensions that they had passed originally, which pretty much paved the way for all of this fraud and abuse.
Support.
They don't want to change a thing.
People
just
said
keep
it
kicking
could
that
be
can.
done, but after months of sounding that alarm, we delivered bipartisan solutions to the House to keep insurance affordable.
Which, by the way, if a single Republican votes with Democrats, they call that bipartisan. I'm not sure if I would consider that bipartisan. I would define bipartisan as close to 50-50 as possible. Not 300 or 200 Democrats and a single Republican. Not saying that only one Republican voted to extend the Affordable Care Act credits. I'm sure there were a handful of them.
This won't be the last time that Democrats will work to break through the partisan divide to deliver for our constituents.
Dude,
Now
y'all
it's up
are
to
the
Leader
partisan
Finn
divide.
to
Give us
join
a break.
Democrats in sending this legislation to the president's desk so millions of Americans can afford health care in 2026.
Yeah, and then when Trump, not if, but when Trump vetoes it, then you can start kicking and screaming about that too. Oh, it's all Trump's fault that healthcare is out of control. It has nothing to do with Obamacare. It's all Orange Man's fault. All right, so anyway, we got this from House Republicans. It's the House Republican press conference. As the House Democrats, I figured I would give them a minute or two to talk about whatever they're going to be talking about. So let me see if I can get to where
Their
they
loved
are.
ones.
All right, here we go. And just like with the Democrats, I'll just give it a couple of minutes. Oh, yeah, you know what? I think I forgot to do this yesterday. I'm going to repost that if you want to see it in its entirety, or you can go to House Democrats. Oh, all right, so here we go.
And it was simple: lower costs and bigger paychecks.
Let's see if I can get to where she starts talking. Here we go.
Well, good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a nice day on this nice, bright, sunshiny day. House Republicans made a promise, and it was simple: lower costs and bigger paychecks. This week, we are delivering again. We are passing 5 more bills to actually boost American paychecks and expanding benefits for working families. This builds on the working families tax cut, which is raising take-home pay for all middle-class families, delivering historic tax relief for seniors, and giving relief to workers by ending taxes on tips and overtime, and expanding the child tax care credit so parents can actually keep more of what they earn and take care of their loved ones. That's real relief for real working class families, and that's real results for the American people. Now, we're even going further. We're making it easier for workers to gain new skills and encouraging employers to offer better benefits. These are common sense reforms that will actually improve people's lives. But we aren't just growing paychecks and boosting benefits. We're doing a lot more. We're finally fixing the broken way Washington spends your money. Following the
Really?
strong passage of 3 funding bills last week, which no one thought we could get done, we are moving 2 more major appropriation bills forward this week to advance President Trump's agenda and vision of a golden age defined by security and growth.
What about the SAVES Act?
Gone are the days of bloated
Save Act.
backroom deals. We are actually delivering full year funding through a transparent process that actually guts bureaucracy, wasteful spending, and puts America first.
Okay,
You'd
I'll believe
think
it when I see
Democrats
it.
would support that, right? Gut the waste, fraud, and abuse.
No,
right?
dude, that's how they
You'd
retain their
think the
power.
Democrats would support
They are the
these
bureaucracy. They're the
pro-worker
establishment.
bills that better the lives of America.
I mean, look, like what is it? Like 92% of federal employees who work in Washington, D.C., who vote, the ones who vote, 92% of them, they vote Democrat.
But they won't. Watch the floor this week. Democrats will vote against bigger paychecks and better benefits for Americans.
no shit.
They will, as
'Cause
usual,
it's the Trump administration.
side with
No matter what.
bloated government. They encourage the waste, fraud, and abuse, and they are on the side of the criminals.
Okay, all right, I'll cut it there. You know, I want to give it kind of a fair, even time for both of them. And, oh yeah, don't forget to repost it in case you want to see the whole thing at House GOP. Or again, there's a direct link to my profile in the description below if you want to take a look at that over on the X platform. And this is from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth from earlier today. No one on earth can out-innovate no one on earth can out-innovate an American entrepreneur. Once freed from the dead weight of a stifling bureaucracy, we will forge a new arsenal of freedom. Thank you, Elon Musk.
We are done running a peacetime science fair while our potential adversaries are running a wartime arms race. The President of the United States and I have the backs of our warfighters. We also have the backs of innovators who share that very same urgency. We will not back down. We will forge the new arsenal of freedom with our partners in industry and the private sector. No one can out-innovate an American entrepreneur who has been liberated from the constraints of stifling bureaucracy. That old era ends today. If not us, if not America, if not the West, then who? And if not now, it will be too late to maintain that advantage. America first in every domain.
All right, man. Looks like Elon Musk is getting some big government contracts with the Department of War. He's buddy-buddy with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth now. All right, Department of War CTO. The Department of War will take a wartime approach to removing the policies that block AI adoption. Under the Department of War CTO, the Office of the Undersecretary of War for Research and Engineering, the Barrier Removal SWAT team will identify and remove anything that slows down the acceleration of AI capabilities. Skynet takes over. The SWAT team accelerating AI adoption in the Department of War. And this is from Senator Marsha Blackburn. Under President Trump, bad actors across the globe aren't going to get away with propping each other up and taking advantage of America. Joe Biden was weak. President Trump is strong.
And what you have had is the bad actors have built this relationship one to another and have propped one another up. And bear in mind, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, that is your new axis of evil. And they have tried to pull in people like Venezuela. Venezuela has pulled along Cuba. And once you put these sanctions in place, and bear in mind, the Trump administration and President Trump know how to enforce sanctions. That is a big difference from the Biden administration. And when there is no ability for Venezuela to sell oil and get it to the market except through the United States, with those funds going into that custodial account for the people of Venezuela, then Cuba has no money. And so there is nothing to pay the Cuban force that has been there providing security in Venezuela. There is nothing for the Cuban people. And our hope would be that they would reach forward for freedom. And as Senator Dane said, it is going to be up to the people in Iran, in Cuba, in Venezuela, to establish a more democratic form of government. We go in, we free people. We do not go in and overtake countries. And the good work that is being done now, I think the message to people is the United States is going to be here to support you as you fight for your freedom and your liberty. And the steps the president has taken, I know the Democrats are getting really squishy about this, but the president has shown his resolve to support people and to support the groups that are pushing for freedom and pushing out these regimes.
Well, yeah, man, of course the Democrats are against this because, like I've said before, they envy these regimes. They want to become just like these regimes, putting their party over country. But dude, that'd be wild if Cuba suddenly engages in a massive uprising like what's happening in Iran. That would be just absolutely nothing short of crazy, man. Just all over the world. Just these countries, these regimes, these dictators are falling apart. All right, Alex J. Adams, Farm DMPH, Assistant Secretary for ACFHHS. So let's see. Let me just grab his bio real quick because I'm not familiar who this is. So the ACFHHS, the federal agency supporting economic and social well-being of families, children, individuals, and communities. So that's the ACF. And Alex J. Adams, PharmD and PH Assistant Secretary for the ACF-HHS. Make America healthy again. So he says the ACF will seek repayment to U.S. taxpayers for all Biden-era mistakes and fraud. That's a bold statement. Sure would be nice if we did see something like that. HHS demands Delaware pay back nearly $3.7 million in funding for low-income families. This is going to be on the New York Post. And HHS demands Delaware pay back the $3.7 million. Let's get rid of the video player. Out of Washington, the Department of Health and Human Services wants Delaware to repay $3.7 million after state officials wrongly claimed they were eligible for money to support low-income families, according to a letter reviewed by the Post. Administration for Children and Families Assistant Secretary Alex Adams told Democratic Governor Matt Mayer the first state had until January 14th to return so-called contingency funding from the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program. TANF helps poor families with cash assistance for food, childcare, early learning programs, and opportunities for adults to undergo workforce training. Nothing beats wiping out millions in medical debt for Delaware families. All right. If the funds aren't given back, Adams warned, ACF may cut block grants to Delaware in the future. In order to be eligible to retain TANF contingency fund payments, a state must meet the requirement to maintain 100% of the applicable maintenance of effort, or MOE level, Adams said, noting that Delaware officials had certified in a September 1st, 2023 letter that they would provide matching funding. Okay. Based on this certification, in fiscal year 2024, the Biden administration made contingency fund payments to Delaware totaling $3,668,573. Delaware's certification proved inaccurate, the ACF boss continued. Upon review of Delaware's annual reconciliation information, ACF has determined that in fiscal year 2024, Delaware did not meet or exceed the 100% contingency fund MOE requirement. Delaware needed to spend $24,826,042 in fiscal year 2024 in order to get all the federal matching funds. HHS officials noted that only $21,872,175 had been disbursed by the state. State budget documents that year show that Delaware officials had also asked for a $4 million TANF contingency fund grant that had no required state contribution. Just 15 states took federal TANF contingency funding in fiscal year 2024, with nearly 7,000 families served in Delaware. TANF, which is projected to spend more than $16 billion this fiscal year, is one of the top 3 block grant programs that the federal government runs, along with the Department of Housing and Urban Development's Community Development Block Grants and the Child Care Development Fund program, all 3 of which are now under close scrutiny. Adams' message comes after HHS froze more than $10 billion in federal taxpayer-funded child care and social services for Minnesota, New York, Illinois, Colorado, and California before being blocked by a federal judge. Of course it was. New York U.S. District Judge Arun Subramanian, an appointee of Joe Biden, issued the 14-day temporary restraining order just days after the funding freeze was first reported by the Post. Attorneys general from the Democrat-led states had filed a lawsuit in response to the funding pause. The Trump administration had been targeting those 5 states as well as other federally funded welfare programs after news reports, audits, and government officials claimed Minnesota had bilked taxpayers out of billions of dollars that went to fraudsters. The Leering Center, the Quality Leering Center. How do you like that? Past FBI probes of the fraud led to dozens of convictions in the land of 10,000 lakes, with $250 million in wrongful payments uncovered to the nonprofit Feeding Our Future, run by Somali American scammers who used the money to purchase luxury cars and real estate holdings. And anyway, so I'll just leave it there. And of course, I will link that. It looks like that's going to be the only New York Post link that'll be below. And heading on to the next. I think we're getting close to the end here. From the White House, President Trump's key policies, tariffs, tax cuts, immigration enforcement, and deregulation are producing major results. Low inflation, real wages rising, productivity surging, a strong foundation with more work to do. December CPI report, inflation remains low and stable. The economy continues to blow past expectations. And from Rapid Response, brand new data confirms inflation remains low and under control. Since President Trump took office, headline inflation has been running at 2.4%, much lower than the 3% inherited from Biden, and core inflation has been running at 2.4%, much lower than 3.3% inherited from Biden. Inflation holds steady in December as White House ramps affordability push. And from the U.S. Trade Representative, blue-collar workers are seeing the largest wage increases as President Trump's tariff program protects and incentivizes domestic production, which it is. That's the whole point. Real earnings growth is up at an annualized $1,400 for construction workers, $1,300 for manufacturing, and $2,200 for mining and logging workers. Well, that's a good thing, especially for logging, if that wood's being, or the timber's being used to build houses, because we certainly could use more of them. JD Vance, economists keep getting the Trump economy wrong. And this is from President Trump's True Social. Just out great low inflation numbers for the USA. That means that Jerome Too Late Powell should cut interest rates meaningfully. If he doesn't, he will just continue to be too late. Also out great growth numbers. Thank you, Mr. Tariff, President DJT. And from the BLS labor statistics, 7.1 million job openings happened in November of 2025. And there's the graph, which looks like, you know, those are job openings that are in, what is that, like yellow, gold color. So it's been on the decline since, you know, the COVID era, but it looks like it's smoothed out for looks like for Trump's entire first year, really. I mean, it's kind of been bouncing up and down, but it's been holding steady right around 7.5 million. And head on to the next. Oh yeah, here's a link here if you want to take a look at more data with regard to the 7.1 million job openings. And from the U.S. Census Bureau, sales of new single-family houses in October 2025 were at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 737,000. This is 0.1% below the revised September 2025 estimate of 738,000. And information on that can be found at census.gov/construction/ ... And new single-family houses sold, released January 13th. That is today. Next release, yeah, I think they got that backwards, or maybe they're off by a year. They need to really update this because they keep confusing me with this. And this isn't the first time that, like it's probably been at least a half a dozen times that they've put this, because how's the next release going to be a year ago? You know what I mean? The release date obviously is correct, but the next release is I'm assuming 2027. All right, so current October 2025, 737,000 housing units. The difference down 0.1%. And there you have it. All right, U.S. Department of the Interior from earlier this morning, 12 hours ago at 10:13 a.m. As we look ahead to America 250, cow pens remind us how people and places shaped the nation's founding. Free family-friendly events include ranger programs, historic weapons demos, lantern tours, and more, which you can learn about that at nps.gov. The 245th anniversary commemoration, Saturday, January 17th, 2026. You want to mark your calendars. And they've got all these events starting at 10 a.m. And they've got a whole list of events that are happening on this day. And, of course, they got Sunday, January 18th, where more events are going to occur. And for both days, all activities are free. Park movie on the hour in the Visitor Center. Featured authors will be available to sign books in the Visitor Center for an hour following their respective talks. For your safety and that of the horses, park regulations prohibit visitors from getting within 6 feet of the horses. Doesn't have to do with COVID. It has to do with the horses. musket drilling with dummy guns on Saturday and Sunday, and they've got the times there, 1, 2, and 3:15. Sunday, 1 and 2:15 in the afternoon. So that sounds pretty cool. All right, and finally from NASA, 4 astronauts, 1 mission. Hear from the crew of Artemis II, who will be preparing for humanity's next lunar journey in the newest episode of our NASA's Curious Universe podcast. And it's just a clip from it, a little less than a minute long.
I hope that people recognize that Artemis II was the stepping stone for something so much greater.
Victor coined this term in our crew early on about a relay race, and it just really resonates.
We are enablers. We are here to make sure that the future is as good as it can be. Every bit of effort that we spend, a lot of it actually won't affect our mission, but we're making it better for the people that are coming.
We are just proving out the Orion capsule. Next crew has to prove out a lunar lander, and you put those two together and then you can put people on the surface of the moon. I do hope that the globe will pause when there are humans who have left the planet and are on the far side of the moon. I hope that we all pause during that time frame. I think that would be good for us as a human race.
All right. Well, there you go. From NASA. Nope, don't have to play that again. So, yep, that came from NASA, and that will conclude the episode. They are going to be launching as early as February 6th to take a trip around the moon. Artemis 2. Can't wait for that. Very exciting. Waited years to see the Artemis missions play out. It's going to be very exciting. So anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It'll mean a lot to me if you subscribe. And I will be dropping a new show tomorrow as I do The Swamp Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, and the agencies. And also I post daily on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.